Welcome to the law, your money, and you. And I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts, and
I'm Camille Barron, a healthcare advisor and financial organizer, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And today, we're very lucky to have someone here who's going to educate us about employer screening for new employees.
not just that, but if somebody's renting a house and they want to
Oh, it isn't just employees?
No,
Oh,
if you
okay.
just want to find out about your new
Background check sort of thing?
fiance or
Yeah.
something like that, background checks. But this is really fascinating. Phil Sharkey, and I got his name right. It's a great name. Thank you for coming here. Now,
Thank you.
we always say, tell us a little bit about yourself. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, thank you for having me. And I would begin with, I've been a licensed private investigator in Massachusetts for over 25 years. And I've had my company now, The Hire Authority, for 24 years. Initially, I did traditional investigative work. Now we do exclusively background screening for employment purposes and, as you mentioned, for tenancy purposes as well.
Wonderful.
Do you ever have people like the parents, they want to screen their daughter's boyfriend and make sure?
Well, my daughter
Yeah.
just turned 18, so
You're going to
You-
get started
you've
with
been
that
doing
business,
it.
right?
that's the
Yeah.
first one.
Oh, that's the first one.
Yeah, just
Check the
Watch
boyfriend
it.
out.
Yeah, check the boyfriend out.
absolutely. But currently, just for employment purposes and for tenancy purposes, try to keep it just in that realm right now.
Oh, isn't that interesting? So what does this background check consist of?
Well, it's a full background check, and to stop back first is to state that we're not Big Brother. Some of my friends will tease us, and we're not hiding in the garbage and spying on people. It's a legitimate reason that we do this. It's for employers and for their safety and all of our safety to make sure you're in a safe workplace. We always have a signed release and authorization, so we can't randomly just pick and choose, I'm going to do it on you and not you. It's with the signed release. We need their consent and authorization. And what we find is that 30% of the background checks we conduct turn out fraudulent. Now, that's a giant number. We screen 600 to 800 to 1,000 people a month. 30%, and I always stress this, it's not that we run out in the street and grab 10 people and 30% turn out fraudulent. 30% of people that know we're going to do a background check on them. It's a huge number. It used to be 20%. And about 10 years ago, it switched to 30%.
And so when you say it turns out fraudulent, you mean that they have put something,
Yes,
lie
it's
or
not
something-
truthful.
something
Either there's
dishonest on the application?
Exactly. They falsified their job application. There's criminal records when they check off no, they've never
Oh,
been
I see.
convicted.
Yep.
They claim a degree, and there's no degree at all. They never went to the school. For example, just the other day, I had someone who went to Northeastern. They put it as 2 words. So I could deputize you and make you a junior investigator. It's 1 word, so when
Right.
someone puts it down as 2 words, right away the bells were going off in concern. So we found out that they enrolled to go there, but they did not have the degree that they claimed. So it's like meeting you today and saying, hi, I'm Phil Sharkey, nice to meet you, and I'm lying to you. So I'm lying today, so when you trust me to lock up the business afterward or make a bank deposit or represent you,
Right.
how can you ever really trust me?
Very interesting. So do you check every single thing that
We check
everything in their background, everything they put on the application?
It starts with we verify the social security number. And again, nothing is secretive. We're not doing anything backdoors. We verified the social. Unfortunately, today it's a huge problem for our country. There's many people in the country undocumented. So it doesn't help our employer, even if they're a great worker, they found out the social's not valid. So we verify the social's valid. And also from that, we get the address history. So we're here in Easton. That's on the job application, but many times I find criminal records where people used to live. For example, you would not know this, but I previously lived in Connecticut. If there's trouble there, I'm going to hide that from you. When I do this search, I find out without your knowledge, without you telling me where everyone's lived. That tells me where to do the criminal checks. Very valid. We have many situations. Probably about 10% of the backgrounds turn out with some type of criminal history today.
Oh, no kidding. That's high.
Do the
It's
people ever
designed.
give this applicant a chance figuring,
They
well,
do. That's a very good question, Roberta. Many times they do. And again, we're not coming down on people. No one is perfect. It's not that they have a criminal record per se. It's that they also falsified their job application, so they're lying to you about it. So I know many people believe that people can change, and hopefully they can. But when you have a long history of multiple records, I think as an employer, you have to be hesitant. And again, not to pick on people, and we don't harm anyone. We're just fact finders, but we all have rights too. Employers have rights, and the rest of the employee population has rights. So when someone comes in and has a violent nature, I think there's nothing wrong with finding out about that beforehand.
Now, you mentioned in the beginning, you said that they sign an agreement, right?
Correct. A signed authorization, a release.
This is the person whom you are investigating.
Correct, for their own protection, because
Okay.
I am not going to do anything without their consent. So it protects them, it protects myself and the employer. So they know right away they're going to be screened. To me, I liken it like getting on an airplane today. We could just let everyone on. There was a time we probably did that.
yeah.
Now we need to make sure it's as safe as possible. That's all for employers. We have some large clients that hire 50 a week. They have processes in place that maybe they can handle a bad employee. We have small companies that hire one person a year. One bad person for them could bankrupt their company.
big.
Don't some of them do personality tests too?
They do,
you
they
get
do, and
involved
that
in
that helps them as well. And what I'm looking for is I'm their fact finder, and it comes out to be information. And information gives you the best knowledge to make the best decision. We all make decisions as employers. You might like this resume, I like this one. The background check can sort of sway you and say, you know what, this one was perfectly clear. This one had a big gap in employment, lied about the reason for leaving a job. We find out many times they claim laid off. We find out it was job abandonment. Again, it's not what happened necessarily, it's the fact that you lied about it as well.
Wow.
Boy.
Can you give any examples of some of the cases, with obviously without mentioning any names,
Sure.
Or even employers, or
Yeah,
who's hiring you? But the
Absolutely.
criminal records, typically,
Absolutely.
what do you find?
They do. It's a very vague field. Sometimes my clients will come on board and say, give me the nation. There's no national check. We're not the FBI. No screening company is the CIA. You check state per state or sometimes county per state. Driving record's a great example. Many people will shrug and say, why do you pull a driving record even for a non-driving position? Could be an office manager. The answer is 10% that we screen, 600, 800, 1,000 people a month, so that 60, 80, 100 people come back without a license or a horrible driving record history.
Oh.
So driving to the interview, they're breaking the law. So when you hire them, if they get stopped, they're not going to be in that day. And to me, it's a common sense situation. You have to have your license. Roberta, you have to have yours. I have to have mine. But this person either can't handle the responsibility of keeping their license active or doesn't care. And to me, I'm not infringing on their rights. Again, I want to stress no one is being harmed. It's just the facts.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair when you don't have a license. But every time we find out for many years. And I'll tell my client that, did they drive into the interview? And they're like, yes, they just were here. I'm like, well, I'm looking, they're driving, they haven't had a license since 2015.
Oh, my. Oh, boy.
boy.
So that's also the person that'll probably have an accident on the way home or hit someone, doesn't have
Do
insurance.
you have the undocumented, there's so much going on today with immigration.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they come to this country and they'll use other social security
It's
numbers.
true. It's true, Roberta. Sometimes they turn out to be great workers. They don't want to
Yeah.
cause any problems. But we just had one last week where the social came back to a dead person in Nebraska. Now, I'm not harming that person and
No.
don't want to hurt them, but I'm sorry that the individuals give me a social that came back to Sally Jones, who passed away in Nebraska in 1984. So again, two things. It's not just that they're illegally in the country, which is a major problem, but they're showing you a shiftiness. They're working the system. They're being conniving. They're going about
Or
things.
desperate. Do
They're
you, do you
desperate.
report that they're using a dead person's
We
thing?
do. We do.
Now,
That's,
the employer, do they have a legal liability to report that?
they do. That's a real red tape situation.
Yeah.
If you try calling Social Security or INS, it's a nightmare for the employer. They don't have a legal responsibility. If they hire them, they sure do. And there's something called E-Verify. They run through the government system, which would show that their social's not valid. But-
Well, when we hire people, I know they have to have 2 picture IDs
Right.
plus a social security card. I don't know
True.
if they need the driver's license, but no matter how good they are or how
Right.
highly they're recommended, they won't be hired.
It's true, and we tell even on the Corey release form, which is a release for the
yeah.
Massachusetts Corey. Many people have heard that. That stands for Criminal Offender Record Index. It's a statewide check from Massachusetts. It requires 2 forms of ID, and if it is someone who is in the country either on a student visa or employment visa, they have to have that documentation. So that's where the background check starts. We need to confirm who you are and that you have a valid social. It's necessary. It's the first step. Then we get into checking the education, I could go on about that. We have many people who falsify they would pass a lie detector test. They tell me I graduated from Stonehill, and then I check out, I'm like, I'm just the fact finder. I'm sorry, they show you 6 credits short.
Yeah.
You have to stop saying you have a degree. You don't. If you have it, take it down off the wall. I'll become your advocate. I will fight for you if you're paying that $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a year, and I will find out why they're not verifying your degree. Most times we don't hear back from the person. But occasionally they do send me, skirting the systems, they'll send a document which we find out is not accurate. The insignia is wrong, the signature is wrong. Once again, someone working so hard to skirt you and get into your employment.
So is your process, from what I'm sort of trying to piece together the process, you meet face-to-face with, obviously, the employer, whoever is asking you to do the screening. You meet with the individual?
We never meet with the
Oh, you never
individual.
do?
So it's
Okay.
all, which actually works well for us. I'm
fun.
very impartial. You know, I don't meet them. I think sometimes we get confused with recruiters or contract agencies. And you know what happens? Just like our conversation here, you start to like someone. When you like someone, you immediately want to side on their behalf. I have no horse in the game. I don't like or dislike. It's
Yes.
just the facts, which works to the best. It is exactly what it is. And many times the recruiters, they will like the person, and then they'll send them to us to be screened. And we do the background check, and they find out, oh, I'm sorry, the education is variant, or your employment didn't check out. They still have a great rapport. We're sort of the bad guys.
So you're not the one who told that person if they falsified their college credits. You're not the one who's telling them that. It's,
Occasionally we will talk to the applicants. We stand by our reports, and they're welcome to call us, and we can go over it. Many times I'll get a call, and we're very understanding. And I'll tell you, moving forward, you know, Roberta, you have to get the degree if you're going to say you have the degree. Or moving forward, you have to get your license in order. I can share with you the number for the registry. Get over there now. Don't drive, because you're driving illegal. You're breaking the law. But get that license like the rest of us have to have.
What's to stop a person from taking somebody else's legitimate information and
Boy, in today's world, again, identity theft, the #1 crime out there
yeah.
right now. So our system's very secure. We have what we call a WISP information. It's written information security policy. We're a small office which works to our strength. Only access is through 3 computers. Compare these large screening companies that are often cracked. As you mentioned, identities are stolen. We're very secure. The release comes in encrypted or by fax machine that is secure.
Right.
So it's very much to err on the side of protecting the individual that we're screening.
do you check credit?
We do. It's moving away from that. Many
yeah.
states no longer allow for credit to be pulled. It's generally used now in a CFO position or accounting, something in the financial realm. Used to be a staple, but so much today in our country, there's so much poor credit. It used to be poor credit, Roberto could steal from me. Now it's poor credit because they have poor credit.
Yeah.
It's very common. If I do 10 credits, probably 6 of them are quite poor, which is a scary indictment on our
Yeah.
country's situation.
Yeah, because I know years ago the insurance industry started to check personal credit reports,
Yeah.
and that was more.
just to hire somebody?
No, this is to insure them.
Oh,
That's
to insure
for
them.
for part of the underwriting process.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think in that case it was more about responsibility. It's only one indicator in a mix of things. It's not just taken on a standalone basis.
We just had one last month. It wasn't a credit situation, but once again, people misrepresenting themselves. The woman was from Massachusetts. We checked her address history, and it showed Maryland. We did the criminal in Maryland. She had a great interview. The man said, push it through quickly. I want to hire her immediately. Didn't smell of booze, nothing wrong. Everything's great. Great rapport like we're having. We pulled the Maryland criminal history, embezzlement from her employment,
Oh,
her employer
boy.
false documents to the state.
Is it the right person?
It was the, and we had pictures of her with her bracelets on at her arraignment, which was her handcuffs.
Oh.
And the client went, oh my gosh, that is her.
Wow.
I'm like,
That's
yes.
amazing.
Yes,
That's
we knew it was her
absolutely
because we had
amazing.
date of birth and social match, which is always what we have. We don't report it by name only, not good enough. We need concrete information, which is what we always get.
Oh boy. Now, is another thing that you do drug screening?
We do drug screening. It's a newer
good
field for us.
questions you
Yes,
have.
it's a prevalent area today and become quite necessary. And we have a lot of drug screening stories. Not only do we get what they call positive information, people on drugs. But again, these are people that are skirting the issue. I'll get 10 calls a week of people who test out of range. So it's a urinalysis. They go to a facility and they provide a urine sample. Twice a week to 10 times a week, I'll get a call. They'll say, Phil, we have someone in our office. Their urine is 122 degrees. Now, the human body's 98.6, correct? They say, what do you want us to do? I always joke, well, you better get them right to the emergency room because something's wrong. What they did was they smuggled in urine, clean urine, from somewhere else. Which, first of all, just smuggling in urine to me is like, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I need a hazmat suit if it was myself. So they smuggled it and it was stayed in the car too long, so it got too hot.
Oh my goodness.
So that's what and in the winter we have the reverse. It'll test at like 62 degrees,
so
like a
funny.
block of ice.
That's like, I mean,
this is what we
it's
say.
not- You've got to be kidding, but you know the old reruns of Jerry Seinfeld?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Elaine kept testing for some medication she was taking, and it kept showing that she was on drugs,
Yeah.
even though she wasn't. So she took Costanza's mother's urine.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
I
and-
think when it gets to that point, and I understand, I don't mean to make light of it. Drug addiction is a huge problem in our country. But when you have to go to the fact that after this segment, can I talk to you for a second, Roberta? I'm looking to get some clean urine. I think when you go to that point, I think the drugs have affected your decision-making ability,
Well,
and we need to know
listen
that.
to what happened. So her boss said, well, you don't have drugs anymore. The problem is we still can't send you there because you have beginning stages of Alzheimer's, and you had something else. Did you see that?
I
But I mean,
did.
there's something from 20 years earlier.
That plays today.
Yeah,
This is a
that
true
plays
story.
today.
We screened one woman, and she ended up causing an issue where, and I guess I say this guardedly, but she took her urine to the 7-Eleven to warm it up for the test and used the 7-Eleven microwave and
God.
went too long and had an overflow situation.
Oh,
So that was actually our applicant. You can Google it. It's right out there on the internet. And of course, the 7-Eleven, poor clerk, I don't think signed on to have to clean the overflowing. I wouldn't want to be the next person, I guess, warming up my hot dog. No. But that's the steps that people
So what
go.
happened with her?
She
She
failed the
couldn't
drug
use it?
test. She
She
didn't
failed?
show. She
She didn't show. It was just too
because she
too
had an
long.
issue at 7-Eleven.
Oh
But I get
God.
the call from we use Quest Diagnostics as our main testing
Oh,
center, and
yeah.
they'll say, what do you want to do? The urine's at 112 degrees, out of range. Or they'll say that the urine's untestable, there's too much water.
Oh, is that another thing?
People flood their system. Now, sometimes they do it because they're nervous, want to make sure
Is
they
that
can
what
go.
they test? The temperature? They don't test.
They
for
test
the
the
I thought they
ingredients of the urine. They
Oh,
test the
just
urine,
the
but if it's
urine.
out of range, if it's not human temperature, they can't test it. So we probably get 10 a week that are out of range.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
That is
can't test
that
it if
is
it's not
something.
in the human temperature.
Well, I think today. Now, do you have to report any of this to the government? Or
We don't. It's not a responsibility. We're not the the hard law out there. I'm not out to harm anyone. I would go over it with them and counsel them. I never even suggest to our employers to hire or not to hire. Again, we're just fact
Yes,
finders.
Oh.
So I will tell them the education is falsified. They don't have a license. They did surface 2 criminal records, and we couldn't do the drug screen because it was out of range. I usually don't even find out if they get the job.
So it's out of your hands.
It's
at
out
that
of my
point, Once you
hands.
deliver the
Yep.
information.
I will definitely stand by it and can go over it with the person. They get a report, and my name is on it, and they can obviously call up. We get a call maybe once every few months if someone wants to discuss it or contest, and they're very,
I
very
haven't
welcome to.
heard of a company like yours. That's why it's fascinating. But you do find on the internet where it says background check of this.
Yeah, and we run
and
into
this and
cases
that.
where, sometimes they'll say for $14.95, and
Yeah.
I welcome anyone to click on that. It takes you to another website. It's usually quite apples and oranges compared to what we do. We're national. We have clients coast to coast as well as even international. And
But those
it doesn't
companies are
matter.
legitimate because years ago you never heard of that because there was
Yeah.
no internet.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, it was. And there are large companies, like the credit bureau does it, or some of these large payroll companies will do screening as well. I've found what made us successful for the 24 years is our senior level, only senior people doing the work. They have a trust factor as we meet. You get to know myself and the staff There's not high turnover. The larger companies that do tens of thousands of backgrounds also have huge turnover. So as a client, I just got a client, a car dealership in Maine. They were waiting many days to get their background, and when they would call, they could hear the people shuffling papers. They didn't even know who they were. I know all my clients, and they feel they can trust. There's a huge integrity issue.
Do many of them have somebody with your background in private investigation?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most are criminal investigative companies, but have grown into screening. Some do it as an a la carte. They'll do payroll, they'll do screening. And once again, I tell people, right there, it's such an important field. I think you want just the experts in screening. So I think some do, some don't.
Interesting.
Fascinating. Do you have any funny stories?
I do.
We're
I
almost-
do.
we're
Quite a,
almost
we
through.
have
We've
quite
got
a
to be
few.
kidding.
Well, we even mentioned the name, the higher authority.
The
is-
higher
is-
authority, what a name. Isn't
Yeah, I
that
like
great?
that.
So many times
How
as the
did you
world,
come up with that?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Even the world today, many times we'll start to screen someone in the clergy, in some ministry, and you can
Really?
imagine
In
myself or
clergy?
staff calling. We just had recently, like Sister Annunciata, and I'm calling as the higher authority. And she's
Oh,
very much
boy.
like, you think you're the higher authority, do you? Well, I'll get a call back from a priest.
Oh, it's just
or,
a credit card, or they do
no, they used to work
priesthood
there. We'll be screening a minister or a rabbi or someone who's going
to
into a
see if they're
congregation.
going into a for a
And we'll call their past
congregation, too?
congregations.
Really?
And we'll call and see how they did. Were they there for 5 years like they claim? And then I'll get a call back, or I'll be leaving a message for Father Farrell. And it's like the higher authority's calling me. Or occasionally just our name alone will be calling people, and they don't want to call back the higher authority. They
God,
think
is
it's
that the
not
end?
their time.
The
Yeah,
end.
they
Funny.
don't want that.
You've got to be kidding on that one.
Yeah, it's a great name though.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it really is, the higher authority.
It gets attention, which
Yeah.
is what we like for sure.
Wow, this
Well,
is,
oh, the driving, I've got some notes here about
Yeah.
the driving record checks. I'm just thinking back years ago, many years ago, before the internet and before that, when we used to get people from other countries and they show up with a social security card and this and that. You know, I mean, there was none of this, phony immigration or this or that. However, that's what it was. You know, they
It's
used
so
they used a
prevalent
friend's
today.
social security,
It
and they
is.
didn't care. So the other guy got the social security credits, but this guy was able to send money back, and things like that.
Well, right away, the three numbers of your social, it indicates where it was issued from,
the state, right?
the state.
Yeah.
And I'll get one, it's at 705. It's just like the highest is like in the 400s, 600s. It's right away.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what's going on here? Right off the jump, we got problems. But again, employers need to know this before they delve into hiring the person. Not to harm the person, to protect the employers and
Exactly.
the other
Yeah.
employees that
Right.
work there.
You used to be able to find out where people were from by their number, their
Yep.
telephone number,
Yes.
the first three
Back
digits.
in the days when it was
Back-
those, yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
could
true.
always tell where they were from.
The
And
exchange,
now,
I think
yeah,
they
the
called it.
exchange.
Right now, there's so many, they're running out
It
of
used
phone
to be a
numbers just
long
about.
distance to call from one town to the other.
Right. Like I'm from
Uh,
Connecticut, so it was always 203 or 860, as we know now.
I'm talking
but
even from one town to the
Yes.
other.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you'd have to get what's called a foreign exchange, and that. Of course, now you can call anywhere. Even what do they got? There's somebody told me about a new app called WhatsApp. Have you heard of that one?
Absolutely.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, and just on your cell phone, you can talk to anyone in the whole galaxy, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Mars?
Well, the higher authority would like to try and screen for that person.
Right, is
Absolutely.
that funny? Anyway,
How about, one last topic?
No, go
one
ahead.
Again, being what things are, what they are today, do you ever find evidence that somebody could be a terrorist or,
We do.
have
There-
those
there-
kinds of
Yeah,
things?
there's
Good one.
a
You
search
covered
we
all
do
the
quite
good
often. It's a
questions.
governmental database search, and it's called the OFAC search, which stands for Office of Foreign Asset Control. And we run people through these 4 different databases, and we do occasionally get some hits. And it's either someone that the government's decide they will not do work with, and a lot of our medical clients, and we do a lot in the pharmaceuticals, can't hire that person. They need to clear it up
No
again.
fly list?
No fly list, absolutely. And sometimes there's an issue. I always tell the person, it's your background. And if I was screening a family member, I'd tell them, I should never know more than yourself.
does
So
anybody
find out
ever
about yourself.
say to you, pass it through for me, will you? Pass it through.
I've had some people actually call and say, can you do a background check on me? Something surfaced. And I need to find out what it is. I'm not sure. We're very transparent. I will always get exact information and share it with them. Again, I need their signed release and consent. But
Do you think they know about it in advance?
I do. I always say to my client, go back and talk to them and say, this surfaced. Can you explain it to me? Can you make me feel better about it? Or sometimes they'll get out in front of it and say, I did get stopped for a DUI last year. Many times, unfortunately, I find it's the tip of the iceberg, and then, well, there was 3 DUIs before that, or there was a DUI and then an aggressive assault and, many criminal charges. So,
Can you give anybody advice on to how to make their background check better?
Well, if you have issues, if you don't have issues, you have nothing to fear. Again, many people get their dukes up with me and feel like I'm big brother. I'm not. I am trying to clarify what you're saying. Be honest. Be honest. Be truthful. If you don't have a degree, don't say you do for
That's
education. And if you worked 2 years, don't say you worked 5. And if you got laid off, don't say you chose to leave. Be truthful.
Boy, well, this is You've Got to Be Kidding bag, and I heard a story. I have to have Camille repeat it about your anniversary.
Oh, yes, yes. We happen to be...
But also...
yes, we
about
happen to
the
be
thing.
recording this on October 15th. Now, for the past 10
God
years...
knows when they'll hear it.
For the past 10 years, October 15th to me means it's the first day of Medicare annual enrollment. It goes from October 15th to December 7th. This has been imprinted on my mind. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So I woke up this morning, October 15th, I'm going to have a very busy day, and this is why, because it's Medicare annual enrollment. So about 3 hours later, I discovered, or I was reminded, yes, this is October 15th, and somebody posted that it happened to be their 30th anniversary, and then they said 30 consecutive years that I've been married to this person. And I thought, oh my goodness, today is my anniversary.
Happy
It is my
anniversary.
anniversary.
Yes.
So then I was kind of ashamed, and I went out to my husband in the kitchen, and I said, today is October 15th. And he said, well, that sounds familiar. He took him a while, but he said, oh, did we get married on October 15th? So we said, well, at least both of us
You
forgot.
didn't say you got to be kidding, though. You got to be kidding, and you're not kidding. And
No.
I think that's just about a wrap.
Yes.
Except I just want to mention that we dropped off our latest book
This
in
is
Bridgewater, which we now increased the size of the book, and we dropped it off at East Bridgewater. And be that as it may, as this fellow kept lifting these heavy boxes, and there were like 6 offices there, I said to our contact person, what's his name? She says, and I'm sure he won't mind, Scott Allen. I says, is he in the book? Is he in the book? She says, yeah, he's the chief. I says, he's the chief?
Oh, my.
Real handsome guy. But he was lifting all the boxes and everything, and they were all wonderful, but it's our latest book.
How many do we have? How many towns do we have these in now?
I think about 20. Our next one is
wow.
almost 2. We just did Great Barrington, another one with a B, and I always miss that. What? Bellingham.
Okay.
Yeah, Bellingham. Real
Well,
nice.
All
Real
right,
nice.
so
they're all
it's
good
time-
looking too.
They're all time to wrap up.
Okay, let's
so
wrap.
thank you so much.
Did
My
it go by
pleasure. Thank you for
fast? I
having
Yes,
me.
told
it
you
did.
it would.
And very interesting.
Thank you.
So I want to thank
Yeah,
our viewers for
fascinating.
watching. It's quite interesting to hear about the things that happen, whether you're applying for a job or looking to rent a house or whatever. And please let us know if you have any questions about this topic or anything else. And of course, we want to hear your ideas for other topics you may be interested in. Because remember, this is your show. The law, your money, and you.
You.